Okay, now this is from the section on estimation and what's the title? Calculating, estimating, reading graphs. Now this is not really an estimate, this is just a plain old straightforward problem. How many 12-part drawers do we need to store 100 parts? That is, we assume that we can put 12 parts in each drawer. Well, the obvious thing to do, we divide 100 by 12, so we divide 100 by 12, and we get 8 1/3. So we need 8 1/3 drawers. Well, we can't buy thirds of a drawer. So do we round this off, say 8 drawers will do it? Well, 8 drawers, 8 times 12 is only 96. We're not going to get 100 parts in 8 drawers. If we've got any parts left over after filling the 8 drawers, we're going to have to get a 9th drawer. So we don't round up, we don't round down. We do round up in this case. We don't round down. Eight drawers won't hold 100, right? Get 9 drawers. Okay, another similar question, very similar. If you got 30 students, you can put 30 students in a room. How many of these rooms, how many 30-student rooms are needed to accommodate, is that 200 students? Well, again, we could divide 200 by 30, and 30 will go into 206 times with 20 left over. Well, that means you can put these students in 6 rooms, but you're going to have 20 left over. You're going to need 7 rooms. Okay? So 30 goes into 200 6 times, but with leftover students. And if we got to have rooms for all the students, we're going to need 7 rooms. Okay, now that's pretty much common sense. So we're just using a common sense strategy here. Let's take another one. Okay, now this is an estimation problem. 3,000 acres yield 400,000 bushels of whatever we're raising. It might be a fairly typical yield for corn. And let's make that 4 look a little better. Okay, it's not great, but it'll do. So if we have 3,000 acres yielding 400,000 bushels, approximately how many is that? Well, 3,000, 400,000. Now, if we were getting 100 bushels in an acre, that would be 300,000 bushels. So it's something over 100 bushels. Is a whole lot over 100 bushels? Well, I would say it's significantly over, but I'm not sure I'd use the words a whole lot. I'm going to say about 100 bushels per acre. A bit more, maybe. Okay, well, we could divide 3 into 400. We get 130 approximately. That's closer. We don't have to use a calculator to do that. We should be able to do simple calculations like this, at least estimates in our head. Of course, we understand fractions. We see that 3 goes into 400, 133 times. Fraction 4/3 is 1.33, repeating. So we could get an exact answer on this one. If it was 3,006 acres, and actually let's go ahead and change this to 3,006 acres. Okay, well that extra 6 acres is a very small portion of 3,000. These answers are still going to hold. Now we're not going to be able to divide 3,006 into 400,000, but we can divide 3 into 400, 3,000 into 400,000, get about 130. And now we have an estimate, an approximate answer. Okay, here's another one. You and, it says 25 here, and I'm going to change that to 26. My strategy here is going to be pretty obvious, but you and 26 other people invest $310,000. How much is that for each, approximately? Now, if there are 25 people, it's really pretty easy to make an estimate. Okay, 25 is 1/4 of 100. How many hundreds are there in 310,000? Well, about 3,000. 310,000 is about 3,000 100s. We just divide that by knocking off 2 zeros there. About 3,100, but we're going to say that's about 3,000. Now, there are 26 others, well, instead of 100, but if you had about 3,000 hundreds, how many 25s would that be? Well, there are 4 25s in 100, so you'd have about 4 times that many, or about 12,000 25s. Now, 26 is a little bigger than 25. 310,000 is a little bigger than 300,000. In any case, we can estimate about $3,000 if 100. Must be getting late here. We're going to estimate about 3,000 if there are 100 investors. So that would be 4 times 3,000, or 12,000. I'll write 12K for 12,000. If 25 investors. Now, actually, if it's you and 26 others, that makes it a total of 27. A bit less if 27 investors. So we can think through problems like this if we just use a little bit of mental arithmetic and a little bit of common sense. We can come up with a ballpark estimate, around 12,000, or if we divide 27 into 300,000, well, 27 will go into 270,000 10,000 times, so it's going to be something a little over 10,000. Still gives us a ballpark so that we know whether to run for the hills or whether to actually consider making this investment. In other words, we have an idea whether we can afford something in the $10,000 to $12,000 range, and then we can start looking more closely at the investment.